This podcast contains content not suitable to children or those with sensitive ears. Listener discretion is advised.
Hold on to your hats. This could be interesting.
Welcome to TCBI Questions, the show where we ask the tough questions and the not so tough questions to Elliot Renning. And joining me today, all the way from Dunedin, is Paul. Hi, Paul.
Good evening. How you doing?
Not too bad. I probably could have got you on studio for this.
Actually, you probably could have if I actually had a life that meant I could get away from the kids and all the rest.
It's all right. So the rules are that there's no skips unless the question doesn't apply or the answer will only be one sentence because that's not particularly interesting. And adult language is okay if you need it to answer the question.
Sure.
And I'm going to kick us off with, I'll kick us off with a starter question. What would you sing at karaoke night?
Oh, that's an easy one. I always only ever sing New York, New York by... what's his name? Frank Sinatra. It's about the only tune that I can hold, actually, to tell the truth. I'm not a bad Frank Sinatra.
You know, that was going to be my answer as well. Yeah, Frank Sinatra all the way is maybe Bublé covers of some of his songs. That would be what I would be doing. Exactly.
Yep. No, it's always a good one. I don't ever attack anything modern when I'm doing karaoke.
Yeah, and you probably need to get a reasonable amount of alcohol into me to get me up there in the first place.
Yeah, me and karaoke, you'd really actually, that's when you want to turn all cell phones off and just kind of sit back and go, God, what is he doing?
Oh, dear. Yeah, otherwise it'll end up on Facebook. All right, that was nice and easy. Over to you to pick a question.
Okay, so can I go for a starter question or do I go to 100 fathoms one now?
You can go for a starter question if you like, or you can go for 1,000 fathoms if you like. It doesn't matter.
Okay, there we go. I've got a starter question. Are there any foods that you absolutely would not eat?
I'm not a fan of seafood, mainly because as a child I was allergic to it, and I've probably grown out of the allergy now, but it's not really worth the risk. And just to be, way out there, cucumber. Ugh. Just can't do it.
Oh, no. I had so this is a funny story. I developed an allergy to certain types of seafood, particularly prawns, when I was in my early 20s. And the first night that I discovered that I had a severe allergy to it was when I was teaching up in Wellington at a Catholic girls' school. At the prize giving, I had the entree prawns. And within about 20 minutes of the prize giving night, I was out into the toilets, emptying the contents of my stomach.
Oh, dear.
I avoid that. I love seafood, but I avoid those things, sadly. What don't I eat? My brother, sadly, has eaten monkey brains when he was in Thailand or something like that.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't go anywhere near that. But no, basically, I eat a lot of different types of foods, to tell the truth. Gone are the days of when we were students trying to cook the hottest chili imaginable. That's just not worth it these days. But no, any food apart from basically prawns are okay for me.
Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about, really out there stuff like monkey brains and, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I probably wouldn't do that either. Just because I'm not that adventurous with my food.
Exactly. I used to really enjoy rabbit. We when we were students, we always went to Tekapo to stay at a friend's batch. And one weekend we got 600 rabbits. And
Whoa.
That was all pretty good staple diet in our student flat back in Christchurch to take all that rabbit. We got very good at doing rabbit casserole, fried chicken, southern fried style rabbits, 1,000 different ways to cook rabbit. And it was all basically free because the local farmers would give us the bullets.
Oh, wow, because they just want you to get rid of the damn rabbits.
They just want it, exactly. it's true that they say though, don't mix alcohol and guns. One night we'd started pretty early, being stupid 21-year-old boys, and by the time we went out shooting, one of the boys, who was a bit of a nutter to tell the truth, put a tie around his head and got the boot polish out and darkened his face, and put his gun on his hip as he was walking out, going, right, off to shoot me some effing rabbits. I feel like Steven Seagal tonight. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to end well.
Yeah.
But no, rabbit's good. I'd eat rabbit again, not a problem.
Yeah, I haven't had rabbit or duck or anything like that.
Yeah, duck's a pain in the ass if you don't know the shooter, because more often than not, you're spitting out a bit of lead every now and then.
Yeah.
Which is, not nice.
That's not ideal.
Duck's lovely, though.
Yeah, I didn't even eat venison until about, 6 years ago.
Oh, really? Oh, actually, the nicest meat I've ever had was horse meat, and sadly, you can't get it here. Of course, we had that in France, and it was the deepest, reddest, juiciest steak I've ever had. Oh, it was gorgeous.
Fascinating.
Yum.
Yeah, and then you had all that horse meat scandal. So
yeah, I know, eh? Go figure.
sounds like people shouldn't have been complaining about it so much.
I know. It's absolutely beautiful meat. God, yeah, it's gorgeous. I did have alligator when I was in Oz. That was nice too. That surprised me, actually. That was really, really nice. But yeah, basically the assumption is if I can be brave enough to shoot it, I'll eat it.
So you won't be trying beer anytime soon?
Oh no, I'm crap at shooting deer, but I've shot goats up in the South Island Highlands.
Yeah.
And goats, bloody wonderful.
Fascinating. Yeah, I'd never really thought about all those animals. All right.
I don't think of anything weird in that, no.
I remember watching a comedy show and someone ate roadkill. Like, what have you never done in your life? I've never eaten roadkill. So the producers go out and, scrape some animal off a road and cook it up, and here you go.
We've actually done that once. Stupid things you do when you're on a piss trip between Christchurch and Dunedin as students. We picked up some roadkill about Palmerston, I think it was, and thought it was a really cool offering to give to my flatmate's girlfriend when we got down to the land. It didn't go down too well, actually.
Funny that.
Yeah, who knows, eh?
What's your favourite genre of literature?
Oh, okay. This is where I make a confession. I'm a really crap reader of anything fiction, anything non-fiction I love. But what I have read of fiction, actually, I like British comedy like Tom Sharp and, who else? Stephen Fry and all that sort of stuff. I do like reading stuff that gives me a bit of a giggle. I have read a lot of Russian literature, early Russian literature, and my favorite author is the Russian author Nikolai Gogol, purely because it's as weird as shit. It's just crazy stuff. The overcoat and the Diary of a Madman and other stories. If you ever get a chance to read one Russian literature, completely bonkers and completely brilliant. I love it, absolutely love it. But whenever I get a chance to read, I'm always reading non-fiction books about weather and crap like that. Going back to my original degree in geography. So literature, yeah, I'm a bit average on that. What do you do with literature?
Science fiction, really. Kind of leads from all the TV that I watch as well. I read science fiction though. I've been really bad at reading lately.
Oh, okay. Actually, I read a lot of now I don't know who the author. I can't remember who. Mortimer, whatever his name is, Mortimer, who wrote all of the Rumpole series. But again, that's British, comedy type stuff. I enjoyed that. Actually, I do remember. I really enjoyed espionage type stuff when I was at high school. John le Carre, all that sort of carry on.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was very good. And I've actually got Anthony Horowitz's latest book, The Magpie Murders, right next to my bed with the sort of the blind faith that it will be open one day.
One day.
Yeah. Well, I bought it for my wife for Christmas, and she finished it within about 2 days. So now it's going to sit next to my bed for about a year at least, I'd imagine.
You have to get out the dusting cloth before you read it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
I read
like
off my
in
Kindle.
sci-fi?
Lots of like Star Trek and Stargate and all that kind of stuff, and then branch out to just like generic sci-fi as well. It's a lot. I guess I read it more for the technology than the story.
Yep.
So maybe you could accuse me of reading kind of non-fiction of the sci-fi world rather than stories and things like that. So I'm kind of along the same veins. And of course, with my job, I have to read all sorts of technical documents and things like that, which is I don't really do for fun. So that doesn't really count.
Yeah. I do remember I enjoyed Asimov quite a bit, but and of course the old Dirk Gently and what is it, the Hitchhiker's Guide and all that. That's fun sci-fi. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I didn't know about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy until I saw the movie.
No way.
Yeah, because I'm young, I guess. Yeah, so I didn't know that it was a book, and then I watched the movie and went, "Ooh, I need to read the book."
My brother was a huge sci-fi reader. Like I think he read The Lord of the Rings in about 3 days, the whole trilogy.
Wow.
A ferocious reader. Well, not that that's sci-fi, but he's a ferocious reader of that sort of stuff. And is it Leon Uris? Is he a sci-fi? Oh, my brother read. Oh, okay. So June, is that a June series of books? Oh, I wouldn't be able to tell you now, but yeah, he was a ferocious reader of sci-fi. So it was there if I wanted it, but at that stage I was onto my Tom Sharp and wacky British comedy stuff, which was always fun. Oh, if you ever get the chance to read Leonard Rossiter, who wrote about he wrote the series of Reggie Perrin, which is just completely bonkers British stuff. It's actually still really, really readable. Which is even better if you've seen the TV show and then you have Leonard Rossiter's voice in the back while you're reading it, which is just wonderful.
Yeah, I'm a terrible New Zealander because I haven't read Lord of the Rings or watched any of the movies either.
Oh, to tell the truth, I'm a bit of an iconoclast when it comes to that. I haven't read it. The genre doesn't interest me. I've seen the movies only because it's been on the background while my kids are watching it. I love the landscapes. I've gone and photographed the landscapes, that's for sure. But
absolutely.
Never been to Hobbiton or anything like that. No, we'll leave that to the tourists and those who actually appreciate it. Having said that, I did go to what's the Weta workshop in Wellington.
Yeah.
I ignored all of the Hobbity rubbish and went straight to all the Thunderbirds gear. Now that
of course.
Thunderbirds is awesome.
Yeah, there's more to New Zealand and Weta than just Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Oh, God, yeah.
But I think the tourists to New Zealand seem to forget that.
Yeah, they do, eh? But it's a huge business for them, so good on them there. But yeah, it'd be nice if we could be known for something else soon.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Maybe one day.
Yeah, we'll get there. We've got some, actually, tell you what, well, my wife keeps telling me this because she's fully into it. We've got some incredible crime writers in New Zealand, which is obviously carrying on a fine tradition of Noah Marsh and all the rest. And I know that a lot of crime writers are being options their books for TV and all the rest. So that'd be fantastic to see some of their stuff come through.
Yeah, get that produced in New Zealand. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I definitely love watching that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Moving away from literature.
Yeah. Over to you.
Awesome. Okay. I'll just go an easy one. Oh, there we go. How much poetry have you written in your life?
Not particularly much. Forced to do it at school and gone, wow, this is boring. Sometimes I, make up annoying rhymey things just to annoy the people around me.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah.
See how long I can, carry on a rhyme while I'm talking to someone. But I don't remember the last time I actually put pen to paper to write a piece of poetry. I actually dropped out of the paper that did poetry study in my last year of high school. We had the option to go, I'm just going to focus on the other ones. So I didn't have to do the you had to read poetry and look for meaning in it and all that kind of rubbish. That's really not for me.
Yeah, it's like opera for me. It's just one genre of literature that I just can't get into. I think I wrote a poem at school because we probably had to. I really, really enjoy hearing other people recite poetry. When I was at Canterbury University in the late 80s, early 90s, Sam Hunt was always a guest with a bottle of beer in a bar. He was always fun to go and listen to.
Yeah.
And I in the Rumpole of the Bailey TV series, the Rumpole would always cite Wordsworth, which was really, really poignant, funny, a nice sort of historical interlude. But yeah, poetry and we're not best of friends.
Yeah, no, it depends what you're reading, because I think hearing funny stuff recited is a lot more interesting than meaningful or deep. It's like, this is not why I'm listening to this, or would choose to listen to something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I've tried, because of my Scottish heritage and because we got married in Scotland and all of that sort of stuff. I've tried to get into the classic Scottish poets, Walter Scott, etc. But it's even then. I guess if somebody was reading it out loud, I was in a pub listening to it, I would fully appreciate it, because there's the certain rhythm of it and the theatre of it all. But to sit down and read, definitely not to write. That's for sure.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think poetry that's well written and well read, it's more of a performance that you want to go and see rather than reading it to yourself, because you can never put the right emphasis and feeling into it that the person that wrote it can.
Exactly. My niece, who's got a wonderful way with words, I don't know if she's ever actually written her own stuff, but she does one-woman shows, and she has the most fantastic stage voice and performance voice. And I could listen to her for a very long time reciting poetry, but I think the last time I wrote a bit of poetry was in the mid 80s for high school, and only begrudgingly.
Yeah, exactly. How healthy or unhealthy are you with setting boundaries, and explain?
Oh, good God. Where do you want which? Here we go.
Yeah.
Which boundary do you want set? I am really crap, to tell the honest truth. Social boundaries, as people follow me on Twitter will probably know, that my boundaries are loose. When I was a student drinking, not when I was a student drinking. When I was a student, my boundaries were loose. I have a very strong moral code, which I think I adhere to. So they would set my boundaries. I do like to push things.
I'm aware of this fact.
There's a wonderful quote from Stephen Fry when he was in a boarding school, and all the boys would tease him about being gay, and they would try and do stuff to him, and his comeback was, "Be careful, I might get a stiffy." Which I just thought was wonderful, because that will freak out any teenage boy.
Yeah.
You use that quote on a football field with any young aggressive boy who thinks, "Oh, here we go. Here's a man in his mid-40s playing football. I can sort him out." And they're normally trying to do a bit of argy-bargy when you're on a football field, and you say quietly into the area, careful, Sonny, I'll get a stiffy, and they freak right the hell out. So I guess that's a weird boundary you can push.
Yeah, watch out. I might actually enjoy this.
Yeah, exactly. And more often than not, they'll go and mark some other bugger. Yeah, that's a good one to do. I love that quote. It's absolutely brilliant. It's other boundaries. Well, food. We've already discovered that. Yeah. It's a funny question. It's a good question, but
There's some of these really make you think.
they do. There was a wonderful paper when I was at Teachers College in Christchurch called Moral Development, in which you studied. It was one of the core topics you had to do to become a teacher, all about how teenage brains develop and how kids develop and all the rest. And we had to study the theoretical writing of Kohlberg and Piaget, who wrote about the moral stages of moral development that all kids go through. And the wonderful lecturer, John Gooley, who was a philosophy lecturer, he took the paper, and it was always argument-based scenarios. Excuse me. There's a famous situation, a scenario called what was it? Oh, completely forgotten the word now. The name of it, where there's there's a couple. The guy's wife is dying. There's a chemist who won't give him the medicine that he can't afford. And then you go through these scenarios. Do you break into the chemist to get the drugs? And the lecturer would pose this question, and half the class would go to one side, yes, if you do go and get the drugs, and half the class would go on the other side, no, of course you're breaking the rules, don't do that. And then those who were neutral just sat in the middle and shut up. And the whole point was to argue respectfully. Well, respectfully was the point, but it never really worked out that way, to get everybody onto one side of the argument or the other. And the lecturer was fantastic at posing the boundaries. He'd always say, okay, so you've broken into the chemist. What happens if the chemist confronts you? Do you confront him back? And people go, oh, okay, I'm going to the other side now. This is going too far. My boundaries are. I'd sit there going, oh, of course, my wife's going to die if she don't get these. So, of course, I'd attack this guy or defend myself against this guy. It was really, really interesting. So, right from a pretty early age, being taught to question your boundaries was always a really good one for me. And it's a particularly good one for teachers to have up their sleeve, knowing that you're always going to have what are they now? Year 10, the old fourth form girls who are just the most horrid creatures on the history of humanity. There should be an island like Chatham Islands where we send all year 10 girls to go and learn. And teachers are spared and all the other kids are spared from them. So, and we were always taught about, particularly 14-year-old girls are always going to be testing the boundaries. Boys are too dumb to be testing the boundaries knowingly. They just do it because puberty kicks in and their primal brain tests the boundaries, and that they were always easy to deal with. God, I'm rambling. Sorry, mate.
That's all right. The stories are interesting. That's kind of the point. I should probably answer the question.
Yes.
I'm usually pretty good at setting boundaries. Like to, outwards to other people, like, don't do this, or, this is too far. But then I'm not good at setting boundaries for myself, or, like, for example, I tend to take the world's problems on my shoulders and other people's problems on my shoulders, and don't let myself not do that, or go to myself, right, I really need to not do this, and then straight over that line. So that's where I'm probably not quite so good at it. But yeah, for standing my ground and going, right, this is where my boundary is on this, I'm getting pretty good at doing that.
Oh, good. Well, yeah. In that respect, as a creative, as an artist, come designer, come photographer, setting your boundaries, particularly with business, it turns out we are diabolical for that. So yeah, I'm pretty crap at those sort of boundaries. I need to get better at those.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about the kind of the business aspect, and you kind of have to go, well, it's business, so I can't be nice about things all the time because then you're kind of not in business anymore.
Exactly. I had the best advice ever from Clive, and I don't even know if he knew he was giving the advice once, where he said, just don't ever sell yourself short because that instantly becomes the value of your work. And inadvertently, then that becomes the value of everyone else's work because they will keep coming back to you if you're really good and you're cheaper than everyone else, as you said. So set that boundary really high pretty early on. And I've always wanted to buy him a beer after that for thanking him for that because my business acumen boundary is crap. So thanks, Clive, for that one.
Yeah, and it seems to be really common with photography as well because people will go, oh, I could go out and, spend $2,000 on a camera and a lens and then sell photos for, charge like $400 to shoot a wedding and, undercut everybody else in town. And then,
Exactly. And weddings are the worst. Quite honestly,
yes.
the number of people I've seen who have said, "Oh, I'm a wedding photographer," and I go, "Oh, wonderful! Send me a link. I'd love to see your stuff." And you're thinking, "Oh my God, you've shot it on your cell phone." And how much did you charge for that? I charged $1,500. Oh my God. Yeah, wedding ones are really, really, and God bless them for thinking they can do it. It's rather ballsy to do that. I mean, I would never assume to go into a doctor's surgery and go, I've watched medical shows. Let me do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you wouldn't see it in many other industries, so it's a bit of a shame that the creative ones, like, I know how to use Photoshop, 2 functions in Photoshop, so now I'm the Photoshop expert and I can help anyone with their designs.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one. Not that we don't even want to stop people taking photos because I love seeing people's photos. It doesn't matter what they take. It's just when they're starting to push the boundary and say, right, I'm a professional now and going to charge this, this, and this. And that's just, they're taking the piss.
Yeah. All right. Your turn to pick a question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's 2. Here we go. Why do bad things happen to good people? Good question.
That's a very good question. I think that the whole, whether it's the whole, nice guy thing or, nice guys finish last and all that kind of thing, from what I've seen, it seems to be kind of self-inflicted and people become kind of a professional victim. That's the kind of the way I'm looking at it anyway. But yeah, bad things happen to everyone, but good people seem to moan about it more because I'm a saint and I do all these good things for people, so why are bad things happening to me?
I know, eh? Actually, that's a really good one because that was one that when I was at high school, well, actually, no, that's not true. When I was at primary school, I did the classic, my parents made me do Sunday school stuff. And of course, the pastor, what the hell is an Anglican? It's a vicar, isn't it? The vicar was always trying to set the moral parameters around what was in the Christian tradition in the Bible of, what Kohlberg and Piaget would actually say is pretty much level 1 or 2 thinking of black and white. The rules are the rules. And then when I got to high school, I was like, this is a bit crap. And then all you have to do is smoke your first joint and sit down and watch Pink Floyd The Wall. And you think, okay, that's just blowing my mind. What can I read to expand on that? And of course, then the classic one, if you've ever come from a Christian background, is to read Bertrand Russell's Why I'm Not a Christian. And it actually more or less addresses that question of, why do bad things happen to good people? And he would say, well, it actually happens to everybody. But it then makes you start to question, it actually comes back to the ontological argument of is there a God or anything like that, which, apologies to those who are believers, good on you. When I started reading Bertrand Russell at about the age of 15 or 14, there was no way I was ever going to go back to it because he had always posed the question, why does your God believe that you should have all the good luck and all the others should have the bad luck? Because if you're getting good luck, surely others are getting bad luck. Have a look around, others are getting bad luck. Your God's divvying out who's giving out the good and bad luck. And it's been one that's always perked my interest, to tell the honest truth.
All right. Right.
Rambling again, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I always lose track of who's next. I guess that is me to pick next.
Yes, it is.
All right, let's go 500.
Woo.
How do you go about illuminating blind spots in your life?
Ooh, read where possible. Read or listen, learn. I would prefer to and question if you can. Of course, what's that stupid political quote of there are known unknowns and unknown knowns and blah blah blah. Blind spots. What's the easiest way to go about illuminating? For me, is always to question and ask questions, and then shut up and listen. It's always a good way. Like a lot of people think because I've got the green badge on me that I'm anti-farming. Nothing could be further from the truth. I did when I was living in Hokitika as a high school kid. I did agricultural studies. I just assumed that I was going to get a job on a farm if I couldn't be a troubled artist. And we've got lots of family involved in farming. And so every time I go onto their farm, I always ask questions, and I never, ever tell them my point of view, or, I never try and impose how I would see, oh, you're dairy farming, you're dirty dairying, blah, 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 because that's just, completely ridiculous, counterproductive and all this. And they know way more than I do. So blind spots like that, I listen to people as much as possible for me. How about for you?
Yeah, reading a lot is always good, and paying attention to what's going on in the world and not kind of putting yourself into an echo chamber. I think that happens a lot in all places, but Twitter especially. People follow people that agree with them and not so much with everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get to see differing opinions or anything like that, and that. So then you do end up with a lot of blind spots, and it's you don't know what you don't know, and all those blind spots you're not aware of because you're not getting exposed to different perspectives and beliefs and views that will actually fill in those spots.
Most definitely. I am of the luxury that I've got so many followers. I can follow equal amounts of people, and you should see my Twitter timeline. It is hilarious. Mixture of just the most weird and wonderful things that come across, and not everything I agree with. And case in point, I don't agree with a lot of some stuff that the Greens are doing, but that's a part of being a family. You don't agree with what your brother and sisters are doing all the time, but you're still family. But yeah, so that echo chamber of Twitter, it is a funny one. I find Facebook more of an echo chamber. Because I guess the propensity of people in Twitter is to share what's coming through their timeline. So you're getting a real mixture of stuff. The classic is always going, God, I had no idea they were into that, which is always fun. I like that. I just think that's fascinating.
Yeah, people tend to share, I guess, more little bits and pieces of themselves on Twitter, and on Facebook you either get the big long rants, which are often not worth reading, or like the fluff that is also not worth reading.
Yeah, I've kind of almost, which is kind of crazy because I went through a strange period of accepting friend requests from everybody on Facebook, but I've gone almost back to basically just using it for family these days. With Twitter, I was having a beer with Daniel the other night from Christchurch on Twitter, which was really, really interesting. And anyone who knows me on Twitter will know that I share probably way too much than I should do. Yeah, it's a damn good thing I'm not a celebrity and all the rest, because my poor kids would actually have been in the spotlight, which would have been unfair. Outside of Twitter, nobody knows who the hell I am, and it doesn't really matter. I'm not a national security threat, although I probably shouldn't apply to go to America anytime soon. I imagine that would be weird and wonderful.
They'll start inspecting people's tweets at the border and go, yeah, you don't like our president, so I'm not going to let you through.
Exactly. I honestly, but even before Trump, their last time in Canada, and we went down to go to Seattle for the day, getting to the border crossing, I was like, oh, just please don't even mention anything about social media, because you're honestly not going to let me into this country.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would if I was a border control person and looked at your Twitter timeline.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's up to me to ask you a question now.
Sure is.
What have we done? We've done 500 and 100. We'll go for another 1,000. See what that pokes up. How could you say anything to the people you're with right now? Oh, no, sorry.
I guess this one doesn't really apply though, does it? Because it's more of a kind of group setting.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's grab a different one.
Sweet. You want me to grab it?
Yep.
Okay. I'll go 1,000 again.
Ooh.
Oh, there we go. From what do you secretly long to be rescued? Actually, it's not a secret. I long to be rescued from my propensity for procrastination.
Yes, though I don't know many people that don't struggle with procrastination.
It's a shocker.
It is.
I was reading a Scientific America where they were doing a study, and of course, social media, blah, 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 digital media, the last 20 years of new media has accentuated people's procrastination, which, of course, is, not helpful to me. It was really interesting listening to Shelley down here from Dunedin on Twitter, associated with the Dyslexia Foundation, explaining to me how my dyslexic brain works, and time management and all of that sort of stuff is all wrapped up in my dyslexic brain. So yeah, if somebody could rescue me from my procrastination brain, I would love them forever. And you?
Yeah, procrastination definitely, but also my tendency to collect things. I'm looking around my studio and I just have junk everywhere. Well, it's not junk. It's all, it's worth money, but it's mostly IT stuff. And
cool.
Yeah, and I tend to keep the boxes of all the new stuff I buy as well, so I've just got a massive stack of boxes because, I might sell it in the future, and then having the original box helps.
It really does. Did you know that reboxing has become a thing again on YouTube? As much as unboxing, people are reboxing. That's super cool.
Yeah.
No, I don't collect geek stuff. No, that's not true. I posted a whole series of photos I took of all of the old. No, that's complete lie. I do collect all my old crap. I've got my original iPod Shuffle. I've got my original Time Machine. The graphic iMac, which I can't bother giving out there. The classic, the Mac SE, which was a Windows computer. The old dot matrix printer, which doesn't even work anymore, but I can't bring myself to throw away. Yeah. I've got a wonderful Akai reel-to-reel.
Wow.
Which is actually, the heads were replaced on it about 5 years before I got it, and it's in the most immaculate condition. And I've got about 20 blank tapes. So what I did was, with all of my music collection digital, I've taken it back to analog and put it on the reel-to-reel. So I've got a classic 60 minutes 80s dance party on one of my reel-to-reels, which is always fun to pull out at parties, hook it up to the stereo.
How cool.
It's very cool.
All this old technology is actually really cool. And
it's very cool.
Yeah, and especially all the old music stuff and like tube amps and things like that. Tubes just sound like nothing else. You cannot reproduce that digitally.
My friend in Wanaka's got a tube amp, and he didn't have it on, and I made him fire it up. And as we drank strange and wonderful drinks and well into the light, the glow from the tubes was super cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And the sound is just so wonderfully rich, even with the bluegrass rubbish that he was playing.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. Last question. Let's see. Let's go back to 100 to finish it off. What bothers you most about perfectionists? And this is presuming that you're not one yourself.
Oh, God. Okay. Shelley explained brilliantly to me when she was trying to analyze my dyslexic brain that essentially I am a perfectionist. And so what bothers me most about myself is not being able to finish something. In fact, it's even worse than that, not being able to start something because I know that I won't be able to see it through to perfection to finish the bloody thing. So sadly, I live in a house that is 95% finished. But a lot of my, as well as the photography side of me, I make a lot of furniture and stuff like that. And if I can't finish it to a level that I'm really, really happy with, I will probably not even start, actually. So that's probably the worst thing about me, is actually the worst thing that bothers me about perfectionists is not being able to start. Perfectionists that I see out there, actually, to tell the truth, they don't bother me. They fascinate me. I guess because I can see in me bits of them or bits of me in them. Do perfectionists bother you?
I'm not that much. I'm a perfectionist with some things and not others. Oftentimes it'll be, that's close enough.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't do that. I can't do that.
So sometimes it bothers me if I'm working with a perfectionist. So it's like the job's done and it works. So let's just call it done.
When I worked at eMedia, the coding geek was even more of a perfectionist than the two design geeks that we had. He was writing the most wonderful code, and we'd say, look, it works. He's going, no, but it's when somebody opens up this code, they're going to see it, and it's really ugly. I've got to get it right. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I can appreciate that.
Yeah. My code's usually pretty clean.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, some other things it's like, okay, it's done. That'll do. I guess it depends really on if someone else is going to see it or not.
Yeah, that's true.
If it's code that I'm never going to publish and it just works, then sure, whatever. As long as it works, do not care. But if I'm showing it to other people, then it has to be perfect. Yeah.
No, it does frustrate some of my clients when I'm processing photos and it will take a day or two longer than normal because I really don't want that stuff going out if I'm not 100% happy with it.
Yeah.
And of course, then, with improvements in Photoshop and Lightroom and all the rest, and then you start to get critical with you want to actually go back and reprocess some photos, and that's even more scary. So, yeah. What bothers me most about perfectionists is actually myself.
Yeah. Is it the first thing to dealing with a problem is admitting you have it?
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, well, I think that is it for us. Thanks very much for coming on, Paul. It's been a very fascinating discussion.
Hey, not a problem. I absolutely loved it. Thanks. And I always love, I've really enjoyed seeing what other people have to say too. So who knows? I think most people already know me on Twitter, so I doubt if they'll find it that interesting. But thanks for having me on anyway.
Thanks. It's been great. If you'd like to be on the show, you can go to tcbi.nz/guest form and sign up. Anybody is welcome to sign up, and I would love to talk with you. And until next time, to our listeners, add one friend to one episode of this podcast with two open minds and see where it leads. Thanks for listening.
Now that was interesting. Bye-bye.